I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Hey folks, welcome back to Amazing FBA. Today I want to talk to you about focus and your use of your time, right? There's lots and lots of things we can talk about here, and there are various other episodes I did in the summer when just about all my friends and my mentoring coaching clients seem to be going through the same kind of thing, which is overwhelm. So I've done a very detailed series on that. We can put a link in the show notes. Daniel, take note of this. Of my poor lung-suffering VA, Daniel. He's doing a lot of work creating show notes these days and working on the podcast. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it. So that's another big hint there, isn't it, using a VA? But that's a story for another episode. So today I'm going to talk about the biggest time suck in your life, which is probably email and random messages, right? So email is one of those things that seems like a very productive, sensible use of time. And if you work in a corporate environment, or you have worked in one, if you're still stuck in a day job while still trying to build your Amazon business on the side, you can relate to this, right? But email is the most common thing in everybody's life. So just open your email first thing in the morning with your coffee and go through your emails. First thing you do in the morning, right? Stop right there. If that's the start of your day, I'm about to change your life, right? Big statement, but I think it's really true. If the first thing you do is work on emails, so-called work, respond to emails, first thing in the morning, whose agenda are you following for your time? Is it yours? I don't think so. I would argue you're following the agenda for your time set by the people who've emailed you, right? And the people who've emailed you could be just about anybody these days, right? Your email's out there in the universe, on the cyberverse, as it were, in cyberspace. Anybody could get hold of your email and probably does, and anyone can email you and probably does, right? So the first thing to say is just stop that absolutely immediately. Right? Now, if you feel that your boss isn't going to be understanding, or your clients aren't going to be understanding, maybe you can prioritize looking at emails only from your boss and only from your clients, right? In which case you want to get a VIP list or starred or whatever and filter it into a very filtered inbox, especially if you're using Gmail. It's really, really great for this stuff. I'm not a particularly fluent Gmail user. I've got a business partner who's amazing at Gmail use, and it's pretty powerful stuff, but I use Apple Mail sometimes, whatever, you know? Now, I'm not really convinced that your clients need to hear from you by 9 a.m. on email, or your boss does either, right? Maybe, in which case, if it needs to be a regular check-in, make an appointment to do that. But don't do it in response to an email inbox email as a trigger for your action. Have the trigger put in your diary, schedule it, right? Which is the way you should be running your life. Now, I would argue you could get away with, in 95% of cases, answering emails twice a day. And my preferred times, if you work 9 to 5, and you don't necessarily have to if you're running your own business, but if you have that routine, 11 a.m. is normally early enough for most responses to most emails, and 4 p.m. Now, if that gives you the heebie-jeebies, you know, and if that's not a phrase you're familiar with, if that makes you come out in hives, makes you worried, then you can put a little email thing at the bottom of your emails. What do you call it? A little signature saying, you know, I'm, as of now, in an effort to increase productivity, or something like this, then, you know, I'm only going to be answering emails at 11 a.m. and 9 p.m. In between, if you really need to get hold of me urgently, please phone my mobile number, or if you're American, my cell number, right? Notice I tend to put that in my emails, and I do not. I put a very simple thing at the bottom and say, look, I respond to emails within 24 hours normally. If you need to get hold of me within 24 hours or less, then call my mobile. Thanks, Michael. I don't give my mobile number. Now, a lot of people don't have my mobile number. That's for a reason. I don't want a bunch of random calls. I don't want a lot of people having access to me, right? It's just the opposite mentality to what a lot of people think. Bear in mind that I'm running a podcast. It's a very public thing, right? So how come I'm saying I don't want people to have access to me? And the answer is, I want people to have access to my knowledge and to my skills, and to be able to help people, which is why I do the podcast and YouTube videos and blog posts and what have you. But I don't want to spend my time in an unfiltered way, in an unplanned way. And I don't want to spend most of my time working on other people's agenda. Not because I'm not willing to help other people, but if all I do is respond to other people's agenda for my time, I'm going to end up running amok, having a randomized kind of day. My brain goes to mush, and I actually don't serve people I'm supposed to serve, like my Amazon customers with great products, like my business partner by running a good business together. or actually like my existing clients that I need to work with one-on-one, like my mentoring clients that I have, that I need to respond to emails from them because I do offer them email support. So I need to make sure I don't just respond to everybody in the world's emails and neglect those emails which I've promised to deal with, right? So if you just check at 11 and 4 p.m, that's pretty much good enough for most people. And if there's an emergency, have a channel. For me, that would be via phone, like SMS, via mobile/cell phone, depending on which continent you're on. It could be Skype for you. It could be whatever channel you choose, right? But just have one. Don't have billions of channels that people can always get hold of you on all the time. That's just a really big mistake. Really big mistake, right? Another thing that people do is check Facebook obsessively. I personally, even though ironically, I have about 1,200 Facebook friends, I don't even know, I've lost count. And because of running a podcast, everyone gets hold of me and wants to be my friend, which is very sweet. You know, what does friend mean these days? I guess whatever else friend means, it probably doesn't mean person you hardly know and don't care about and who wastes your time with stuff that you don't care about either, right? I think that's a fairly good sort of definition of what a friend isn't. So a lot of the time, productivity increasing certainly starts with not adding anything, but taking away, right? And a lot of this stuff, by the way, just full acknowledgement to Tim Ferriss from the 4-Hour Work Week. Let's try that again, 4-Hour Work Week, who's a bit of a guru when it comes to good productivity. I mean, there are other people who know just as much, I'm sure, but he put it in a crystallized form, which is one of the secrets to productivity. So basically, you've got to eliminate before you start doing anything else to add anything. I mean, Bruce Lee said the height of cultivation is not what you add, but what you take away. When you've taken everything away, you strip down to the absolute essentials of what works, then you are the master of a craft, and that includes the craft of productivity as well. So what does this mean for you in your Amazon business? Well, I think that first of all, email is the #1 productivity killer. If you are letting it take over your life, stop right there. If you're looking for a specific email from a supplier, for example, in order to move your business on to the next stage, then at least order your inbox by from, all right, rather than by date, so that you're looking for a particular person, and try and be really, really, really disciplined when you go into your inbox, that you go in with a list of very specific things you want to do. Right now, another danger point with an email inbox is when you're actually intending not to look at incoming emails, but just create one to go out. But of course, you've got to go into an email system to do that, right? Now, this is a really big danger point. I think what you've got to do is recognize how dangerous this is. Now, I actually started to draft emails off the email system. So I draft them in a notepad or notes or Evernote, whatever system you use. It doesn't really matter at all. It could be a Word document, anything you like. But basically, the point is that you're not on an email system. And by the way, if you are creating emails that you're going to use multiple times to people for similar things, you should be creating email templates anyway, which is another major hint, which is that you need to have standard procedures, or SOPs, as Ben Cummings calls them, and full acknowledgement to him for that term, but that's an American military term apparently. SOP, standard operating procedures. So if you're going to do something more than once, you should probably create a template for it anyway, and keep it in proportion. If you're going to send a very simple 5-sentence email to somebody, you may not need to create a template, right? But just that does two good things. First of all, it forces you to create a systematized way of doing things. So that means you just go copy, paste, done. And also it means you're not operating within the email system, you're operating outside of it. So when you go into email, you go in there, you dump it into a new email, you click send, and then you get out again. Do not start looking at your inbox unless you have specifically put that time aside for that purpose. So you do not live in your inbox, okay? Another danger with the inbox, if you're weaning yourself off email, then people use that inbox as a prompt for their to-do list, basically, right? And if that's you, then don't feel bad about it. We've all been there, but try and capture those things. So at the very least, you know, from the previous day's emails, if you've had things that are hanging over from the previous day, make a list of them so that you have your own written list. And I just use a pen and paper, but I've tried all sorts of other systems. I've tried Things, I've tried the Getting Things Done system. I've tried all sorts of things. Keep it very, very, very simple, and just make a list of priorities for the day. So that's going outside the scope of what I wanted to say today, which is just keep it very simple. Just tame the email. Do not check email more than once a day, and never, never, never make it the first thing you do. You should always have your own set of priorities that you work on first thing in the day, and that will move your business forward. Get in touch, folks. Email these days is pretty much reserved only for my mentoring clients. By the way, that's something that interests you. If you want somebody to guide you and you feel like drinking from a fire hose that is known as the internet is just confusing you rather than helping you, then you may want to check that out, in which case pop over to the blog, amazingfba.com/mentoring, and you can find out about that. At the moment, I'm probably prepared to take on one more client, maybe two if you're really got fantastic background and a good amount of money to invest. If you're wanting to do that, just know up front, and to save us wasting each other's time, that we're looking at about £300 a month costs, and I need you to have a capital to invest of pretty much nothing short of $10,000 these days. The more I go on, the more I think that having really good capital for a private label business is really important. I think that's pretty much a minimum as well. I prefer to work with people who have more serious capital to invest these days. So if that interests you, great, pop over and check that out. If not, guys, this in and of itself should really, really help your days if you're not already implementing this stuff. Take care, have fun, and speak to you in the next episode.